No, you're not in the hot seat. I've got those lemon hot flushes that like intensely, like all of a sudden they've just popped out of nowhere. Either that or something else is going on. But I'm just like continuously, burning off something. So the pressure's off in the hot seat. You can just have the cruisy chatting seat.
And I do need to pay as well. I am aware of that. So I am.
Oh God, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm here now. Radio. Let's do this. I love how it's just. We can go to Vanessa, but I'm feeling going to you, Gabrielle.
Yeah, sure. We can come here. I was just contemplating. Well, I was reflecting on my week and all the lessons I've learned. And funnily enough, I was thinking, Patty's probably been my main teacher this week, and the theme of that was illustrated through when Vanessa.
My husband thought I needed to be in the dark.
Yeah. He just shifted portals. She just talked. Yeah.
That just how well he's looked after, really.
But you probably need to share that for those.
Yeah, those stories. So on Thursday morning, I misplaced the keys for my car and Fergal's car, and I which I thought was perfect because I was trying to get out the door, and if I had actually left at the time I thought I would have missed these guys that popped around to pick up an old oven of ours, these steel recyclers. And I thought, that's perfect. I couldn't find my keys, but obviously I wasn't meant to go anyway. But anyway, that day I didn't find the keys, but I found Fergal's spare keys for his car. So I thought, okay, I've still got a car. So we went off and did our thing. And then the next day it was raining, and I put Patty in Fergal's car. And I went into the shed to get some things, and Patty was playing with the keys, and I thought, that's fine. And I shut the door, went up to get something out of the garage, and I came back, and he had locked himself in the car with the keys. And he thought it was like he was just having so much fun. He was laughing and going, keys. And I was just like, oh my God. And funnily enough, someone had told me, I remember being at Rochelle's house, I think it was earlier this year, and her friend was telling me how this boy had locked himself in the car and how she was able to convince him to open the car with the keys. So anyway, I had a reaction to that, and I was getting quite emotional. And I thought my phone was in the car as well. And I ended up, I actually tried to ring Ali because I thought, if I speak to Ali and I can shift my feeling, I'll find the other keys. That's what my thinking was. It's like, I know, because I was having such a big feeling about the whole thing. And I remember I tried to ring you, Elliot, and I couldn't connect on the computer. So I went next door, and my neighbour she answered the door, and I said, I'm quite emotional. She got to what's going on. And I told her, and she said, maybe ring the RSCB. And so I came back in to my house and ended up connecting with Ali. And Ali was like, maybe if you show him you were trying to show him, you said, take me down to Patty, and you try to show him your keys and saying, open the door, whatever.
But he was so happy. He was so
happy. He was waving at Ali. I was just like, oh my God.
No, everyone else can panic. What are you on about? This is my new playground.
I know. It was ridiculous. Like, he was so happy. And then, so I ended up coming in, and my neighbour came across with a locksmith's number, and I tried a number of locksmiths, but none of them could do it. And then I rang the RSCB. And I'm talking to them on the phone, and they're like, okay, we'll get a car around in 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, because I said, it's an emergency. And I was so grateful. I was like, oh, you're so lovely. Thank you so much. This is awesome. And then she goes to me, oh, do you want me to step it up? And I said, yeah, let's step it up. She goes, I could have someone there in 5 minutes. And that was all I heard. And I was like, yeah, let's get someone here in 5 minutes. And literally before I even hung up the phone, the RACV had arrived, and I thought, awesome. Meanwhile, Patty's still completely fine in the car.
Still playing happily.
Yeah. And then literally a few minutes after the RACV arrived, the ambulance arrived, and I was like, oh, did we call the ambulance? And the RACV guy's like, yeah, when you make it an emergency, the ambulance comes. And I was like, oh, okay. And so they got out and started talking to me. And then a few minutes later, the fire truck arrived, and I was like, And then I was like, oh, this is pretty full on. And I was a bit embarrassed. I was going, oh, sorry to bring you all out. But they were all beautiful. They were all so beautiful about it. They're like, no, this is what happens. And then the fire truck guys got out, and there was like 4 of them, and they were all trying to get in, and the RACV guy was trying to get in. And then this became this competition as to which services was going to get in first. And
meanwhile, Patty's just playing.
Patty just continued to play. He was curious about why there's so many people around the car. But I know. And then the fire guys got in, so they were wrapped because apparently they always win. So they maintain their leadership on the board. And we got Patty out, and I was pretty shaken up by it. So I wasn't really able to do much after that. And thankfully, I spoke to Ali again, and she came over with some chai for me, and she brought over Patty's favourite curry roll thing from Conscious Craving. So it was like, not only had he had the most amazing, morning in the car, and then he gets out and the ambulance guys put on their sirens, and he's like, whoa!
Meanwhile,
he sits down, Ellie arrives, he's sitting up eating his favourite. When he saw it, he was like, ooh! And he just sat up, ate his favourite thing, and then, so the day, it was just, Meanwhile, I had a pretty big reaction to it. So
I think, I think that's the whole thing too. Like, it really shows when you're immersed in it, how you kind of go into that if it's taking that breath and breathing and coming back to yourself and creating that calm amongst the chaos sort of space. And it's from more the observer than the attached. But what you probably learned through it is how the trigger attachment is still so strong. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that was so, Vanessa. So we took it over a couple. We were chatting about it, and we took it to a place of. So what is all this? Like, seriously, because you can break it down to 50,000 things, and could be fragments of this, fragments of that, whatever, and it could be reaction. And that, of course, it's nothing until we make it something and we get all that. But we got down to a really simplistic thing, which I said which I'd used twice this week anyway to people. And
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Vanessa?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
can you hear
Vanessa? Yeah. Can you still hear me? You can't hear me, but I can. Vanessa, I can carry on the story. You're right. Yeah.
Can you guys hear each other?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can she hear you, Vanessa?
Can you hear me, Gabrielle?
Nah, we'll carry on the story, and she can jump in. So, well, it's actually quite appropriate that she's done that, because that's how disconnected she was. There you go. There we go. I was just saying how disconnected you were from the moment. From Patty.
How disconnected
I was. So from the moment. So, that's it. I was just saying, with all the chaos, you were
Yeah.
immersed in it, and you were disconnected with just being present in space. So isn't that funny?
Hence, I got disconnected from that.
I
hate this computer. It always completely reflects where I'm at.
I know. I was just going to say it did that last time. Like as soon as I give it the logic, it plays it out to me. Like serious shit. That's magic. Anyway, so going back to the story, literally what we got to was, okay, the reality of once you're born is the fear of death. Mm. And everything else is played out. So literally, a lot of people, well, I think all of us probably do it. You're born into the world, and that's the fear of either how you're going to die, what you're going to die, blah, blah, blah. So then there's situations of how you can control those aspects. Then you've got all these, so you've got these fragments of filters instead of just being present in the moment and enjoying life as it is. As soon as we start thinking about, just as a curious, as soon as we have that thought about life and then it finishes, because that's how people assume it does, then we want to protect ourselves from that experience or control those aspects, and we have all these trillions of thoughts, and our biggest fear, because what's the biggest fear of anybody would be, is dying. So then or even playing out through Paddy, is protecting him from the worst experience of his life. That could possibly happen. Do you know what I mean? So the fear of something happening to him was played out but what we got in reflection was Paddy was actually really happy, and he wasn't even in that phase of thinking, because he's because they're so young and less corrupted by our thought processes. They're just living presently, moment by moment, enjoying whatever. And so he's in this car locked in there very happily. But mum's out here freaking out because what if, because she's got so many different thought processes, which is like all of us, humanly, maternally, whatever. So we have these, which then plays out the scenarios, because it creates those scenarios, every thought that we ever have, or every fear or whatever. But if we could even take away all the stories and stuff, it comes down to when you come into this experience, you enjoy it every moment by moment by moment, and not even think about how, what, when death is, whether it's here 5 minutes or 99 years. It's just living moment by moment by moment. And Paddy was a real, advocate for that. And as we are as an old age, we get into that whole protective mode and how we can save everyone. The reality is, like I said to Gabrielle, is that in full awareness is that Paddy creates an environment where he's very well looked after, and it was really proven to Gabrielle this week with the neighbour, the RACV, the police, the fire brigade, and the ambulance. The support. And that's one thing I said when Tyler had, the boys, when I was working through that letting go and that attachment and that control of the outcome with Tyler, was he fell off his bike and the boys were going, oh, and it's so rough out there, and they gave me all these scenarios of we should have gone and got him, and blah 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 blah, and this is not right, and I'm at home going, no, it's okay, and he's really late now, so something's not quite right. And he comes in and he's crying, and he's had fallen off his bike because it was so windy and stuff, and he was riding home from school, the wind caught him, and he was on the road edge, blew him off the road, but right in front of an ambulance. So the ambulance stopped to make sure he was okay. So meanwhile, the boys are going, see, I told him. Braden's going, see, I told you we should have gone. And Murray's looking at me because he wanted to go and pick him up and save him because it was a wet day. My understanding for me was know that we're always well looked after. And Tyler was well looked after because the ambulance was, and as he's crying and all grazed and whatever in the shower and stuff, and I'm sitting there going, wow, you create well, you're always going to be well looked after, because look at that. And that's what I was trying to reciprocate to Gabrielle, was that Paddy's very well looked after. We all are, we just don't think that. And the other thing is what I was driving over there, it's not even just humanly in this experience of life, probably 3D vision thinking, but on a bigger scale, whether it's life or beyond, we're always well looked after. It's just our fear that makes it think we're not. So Paddy was a fantastic advocate for
was
great stories. So again, play life. You know, he was really showing us play life. And what is there to fear? Only that of ourselves and our thinking.
Yeah, and I really got that from that, Ali, and it was really interesting because the next day he then showed me again. So we were at we've been going to the hospital every day because my girlfriend's in there, and we'd come out of the hospital room and I was trying to get him in the car, and every time I'd walk towards him he'd run away, like he'd run down the car park. And I was like, we did this a few times, this game. And then I was like, okay, Paddy, I'm just going to wait here and wait for you to come back and hop in the car. And I stood there and I thought, oh, there could be, like, it was quiet and I couldn't hear any cars, but I thought, oh, anything could happen to him. And I said to myself, I trust that he's completely looked after. And literally moments passed and I hear these people talking and they're like, whose kid's this? Whose kid's? And all of a sudden around the corner comes Paddy. Some guy's got his hand and he walks him up, brings him back around to the car, and he pops him in the car. And I was like, and it was funny because the guy was fine, but the woman had a huge reaction and was yelling at me. And I was just standing there, she's going like, where have you been? Like, you're not looking after whatever. And I was just standing there going, wow.
I love it.
It was like, wow, Paddy.
He's just showing you 2 days solid.
I know.
And the reality is that we just formulate. We do fall back into it, and we do. It's a hard habit to break because you've been modelled a certain way, and then we model that, and then we want to save and protect and help our children and do that. It's a really hard thing to step back. But watching the new modern mothers, there are a few that have still hooked into our era of bringing, but there's a lot that's hands off and that's allowing, and it's quite a contrast really, because then it's got, you see it in aspects and then you see the limitations they'll put in other formats, whether it be social media or computer or whatever. But you know, I'll have freedom here, but then I'll control this aspect. So again, it's just a reflection of where we're at with our life, and they'll just play it out. And of course, there's no right or wrong way, you know. And depending on what your parents have experienced and understood, becomes filtered through the system, I suppose. No, good. No, he's a good story. Good story, but it did take us on a real simplistic, cutting life and death stuff. You know, you're born in and you leave. How long you're here for, you know, and I myself the same thing, you know, with all the symptoms that, whether perimenopause or whatever you want to call it, and it's like, God, it could be fucking dead tomorrow by the half the fucking things if you want to research them all and find out. And then the next moment comes and it's like, you know, enjoy the moment, what's happening right here, right now. You know, because this head's going, oh, what's this listed? Because, you know, you like. And so I'm sitting here going, God, chill the fuck out, really. And so then I'll flip into, and then it was like today, I just went and had a cup of tea and you know, and chatting, and then all of a sudden it was appreciating this and this and this, and I was just getting, there was just so much good stuff. And so it depends on what we're you know, looking at too in our experience that plays back to us. You know, so while we're looking for something wrong, we'll see a lot more wrong, and we'll be missing some of the fun stuff. And of course, Paddy being the, you know, the precious person and sharing it so much when we're born into, you know, at a young age, they're less corrupted and they're so free, and that's what we're striving for in every moment. The freedom to play life just as it is.
I know. I was thinking, gosh, he's so present to every moment, and I was thinking, I'm sure that's why he moves through his emotions so quickly. Like, he can get upset about something, but you know, he'll move on to the next thing, and it's like the emotions just come and then they're gone. Yeah. And he doesn't try and hold on to them or suppress them or make them anything. He just boom, boom, and it's like, They're amazing. It'll be
interesting to follow, I reckon. Just as he grows and and stuff. But yeah, no, great play from him, and you know, true core honest reaction, which is very human. I mean, yes and no, because not a lot of people would have taken 5 seconds out of their time to think, oh, I might just ring Ellie and see if I can just chill the fuck out. And I'm sitting there going, so my thing is about anything, and my girlfriend and I always used to discuss it, simple, easy. If there's a scenario and things aren't happening how you'd like them to be, like just, okay, chill out, you know, take a breath, the keys, and they just pop up because you're in the right space to see them, then just go for the easiest option, RACV.
That actually, when you said just keep it simple, I was like, oh, that would even tricky. That I was like, yeah, just yeah.
It doesn't matter, like, seriously, dude. The whole thing is it's keeping it as simple as possible, and there's multitudes of opportunities, and it's like having lost keys. While you see them lost, you can't see them, and they could be sitting right in front of your eyes, but you can't see them. It's like it's almost an illusion because you see them as lost, so they are lost. Do you know what I mean? Until you start appreciating the keys, that's when you will start seeing the keys, and they're the simplistic. While the dynamics are so all over the place, there's no way you're going to see your keys, and they could be just lying. They could be lying on a bench somewhere, just slightly covered, but you won't see them when you're looking and looking and looking and looking and looking. But once you stop looking and just chill out, they'll be in the most obvious place, and you probably pass them 3 or 4 times.
I was telling Ali yesterday, Vanessa, that I found both sets of keys. I found them yesterday. And I found them because I kept thinking, what am I trying to show myself? And then I just said to myself, maybe it doesn't actually mean anything. And as soon as I said that, I found my keys.
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah. I think it's a really valid.
Obvious spot, or?
Not super. I'd put them. We've got a church pew. I don't know if you guys know the church pew when you walk in the side entrance of our house. I'd put them up the top of there, and they'd fallen down the back. So, yeah.
No, I just think that whole. Yeah, what did you say? Oh, yeah, when it doesn't mean anything, and like we've said all along, as much as we're curious and we like to know, the reality, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So you had a big weekend, a lot of sharing in that. Yeah. Having fun, living every moment, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's nice. Here to experience life as it is. Gosh.
And there was lots of contrasting experience.
Yeah. But we're all allowed to play in those playgrounds if we choose to.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. Everything exists, as much as people say, oh, I'll let go, or I disconnect, or I'm not, I'll remove that, I'll cut that away, or whatever. It's all out there.
Yeah. It's funny, on Friday night, Patty normally, I was quite surprised because this happened on Friday, but I was quite surprised Friday night Patty wanted me to put him to bed. He normally wants his dad to. And I was lying in the cot with him, and I was just lying there, and I was just looking at him, and he was kind of he was pretty much asleep, and I was just waiting for him to stop moving. And this little voice comes into my head, and he
I love she gets it before we do.
And then the little voice said, Mum, I've got this. And I thought, oh. Anyway, it was beautiful. I was like, yeah, okay, buddy, I know.
Yeah, he's sitting there looking after you more than you're looking after him. Yeah. No, Mum,
I
I've got
know.
this.
It was just, I was like, okay, I'll get out of the way.
I think in reality we all get in the way, but that's how good is.
It was beautiful.
Oh, that was beautiful. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything to add? Vanessa, have you got anything on that?
No, I loved that. I loved the concept that we're always safe. And then there was something you said at the end that I really liked as well. In there. Oh, I can't remember. I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah. That's the bonus of recording.
There was another thing in there where I just went, oh, I really like that. It might drop back in. But I mean, you know, being removed, I just loved the whole story, and being retold at 21st birthdays.
Yeah, you should. Hang on, guys. I'll just go get the I'll get the camera. Yeah, we'll just. Meanwhile, Patty's just playing in the car. No, it's good. And the thing is, it's not an uncommon thing. That's the whole reality too, you know. And that's what they stated too. You know, it's a common thing. Because I'm sitting there going like the old days. You know, do they have locks that you can lift up? You know, can you just lift the lock? Meanwhile, but Tyler and I were happily going, hey, Patty. They're in the rain, you know. It's funny. Yeah, anyway. Good boy. He did a good job. And it all turned out fine, so that's even better.
Such a fun relationship, the one you have with Patty. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Probably
he's a great little man.
I think it's where you're at though. It's like I don't know, Vanessa and I have probably been at a more protective mothering, more boxed upbringing children than perhaps a more Vanessa's probably still got the chance to do that now because her kids are a lot younger than mine, so but mine are probably very much a boxed perspective, and I've changed it obviously, as you know, with the first three and then Tyler, but even to what you're doing, that's another step again, you know, for my being. Would that be right, Vanessa, or you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm still very aware that there's a lot of controlling that goes on, you know, for me in the mother space.
And that's a cool thing. It's at the end of the day, it's just an awareness, and there's no right or wrong. It's just how we and habitual play, you know. It's become our norm, and we've played that tune and that vibe and that for so long that your system just falls into that with that because it's automatically running unless you're really presently here consistently, you know. And yours just flipped back into automatic programming once you got in the car locked in, and you just flipped into another program, you know. You went out of that present and played in another. It was funny though, because it's funny, we can laugh at it here. It was funny though, because here you are in your reality. This is what I talk about, multiple realities. It's all happening here now, multiple realities. So Paddy's in his reality in this happy car playing, but Mum's in this reality with him locked in a car, so hers is quite turmoil. Same reality, two different experiences. Yet multiple realities, because he's having his and you're having yours. A vast contrast. Yeah.
So then really, when you think about it, are any of us in the same reality?
Yeah. Well, we obviously all are participants in the reality, but then the multiple realities of our existence would be we're all sitting here looking at each other, but then I'm having probably my own personal perspective on this reality as you're having yours, as Vanessa's having hers, which then individualizes another alternate reality. Yet it's all one. This is what I mean. There's no separation because it's all one. So it's just a personification of the experience, I'd say.
Yeah.
Should we go to Bali?
Yes, please.
Vanessa, you're already here. What are you talking about?
That's so cute.
Oh. Yeah. All I think about is going back to Bali.
Wow.
Yeah, so as you know, I went to Bali for 8 days on my own, which was a great experience and interesting in the fear, like to go with the fear line that we've been playing, that I had a lot of fear about going on my own, and I almost didn't get on the plane, and it wasn't so much fear about me dying. And so the night before I got on the plane, there'd been another earthquake just off Bali, which had been the shocks in Bali had been quite significant. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I actually have no fear myself of dying. Like I'm quite, I know that I'm eternal and I'm energy, and if I do die, I'm just changing form, and I'm totally at peace with all of that. But it was the fear about my children, if anything happened to me. That was where it all played out. And so obviously on some level I would say it's probably the same fear. Yeah, but there was this really strong, if anything happened to me, my children would be left without a mother, and what would that mean for them? But I pushed through all of that and got on the plane, and was really glad I did. And just in Bali, there was just my whole list of to-do things was removed. So there was nothing left for me to do except to be. So with whatever happened, and for the first few days, there was a lot of sadness that came up about being there on my own. So I just sat with that. And a lot of it felt like it was actually old sadness coming up, triggered by that event.
Yeah.
So I just sat and I was present to that. And then once I'd moved through that, I was just so present to my entire experience in Bali. So if I was walking down the street, I was there walking down the street. If I was eating, I was there eating. If I was talking to someone, I was totally there talking with them. And I just loved that. Yeah.
I think while you were talking, I think for me that kind of triggers when you have everything that's around you 24/7 removed, how much more fuller you are in yourself, and how much you realize how much you give. And it's a similar, like I was saying to you last week, it was last week, coming back from Canberra, I was doing it for the child as much as I was partial. I was present enough to be there, but personal choice would have been somewhere else. So you're only, fragmented already because you've kind of seen that. And being by yourself would have been given that every moment presence.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and so now there's the fragmentation that I'm back, and the resistance that there's just a little bit of a resistance to entering back into that busyness. And having to do everything, and having to I said this to you the other day, I'm running a story that I can't be present under these conditions.
Yeah, great pickup.
Fully aware of that.
Yeah. I'd written it down, but that's great that you've brought it up. That's cool. Yeah.
And I can't seem to shift that. I'm getting closer. I'm having moments of presence. But yeah, there's just some resentment to the everyday life stuff. There is. I'm just going with the emptiness of the energy in the words, and I just went into a real blank space. So I was just kind of humming along with it to see where it take me, but it's very blank. So I think I'll leave you to carry on, because there's something you're going to inform me with shortly. Okay. So, and the other thing, so when I was in Bali, I did listen to the Zoom Room track where there was just the two of me, which I said the other day in the message that I absolutely loved. And so I then was thinking about my whole allergies and my food sensitivities, which have had more foods removed from my diet, and I'm really struggling with that. So there's next to nothing left that I can eat.
You're going to be a breatharian.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm probably allergic to air as well.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a reaction to that.
Yeah.
And so I've been sitting with the, is it possible that I've created this? And then what's the whole, what is there a link back to something in the past?
Yeah, I'm still on the resentment issue, actually. And I'm kind of finding the allergies and food sensitiveness. I kind of write and draw, as you know, as I do with everybody, and I end up with like arrows and things that I kind of think I'm drawing and playing, but often give me information. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of like, you nailed your understanding of the presence and your choice of barley difference, which is totally what we've spoken about, is you can have that every moment. So why is barley different to Mornington, or the Peninsula? Only your thinking is different. Do you know what I mean? Even though we have cold freezing air that we're creating a lot here, which you and I both talked about, yet if we're in a really good space of being present in the moment, none of that makes any difference. It's our thinking that does it. So that's the moment of choice and being present and thinking about this resentment thing. I'm just flipping to the resentment thing, and I can't even remember the link that you used it with, so it's just a word that's hanging around. So I'm just acknowledging it, and the allergies and the food sensitivity have come in together. So I was just going to see if there's a thing in that that book that we used the other night, that I was just going to see if there's a resentment thing, actually a word or anything in there. And the other thing I got is, so what if you created it? What's the gifts around it? 172. So what if you've created all these allergies and stuff? What are the gifts? Have you looked at anything positive, or have you kind of focused on what's been the negative take on it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I probably haven't looked at the positives, which is what I tend to do. Like, I can sit there with my migraines and go, I can tell you all the good stuff.
Oops, she's frozen. Hello.
Hello.
Hang on. You're breaking up. Okay, so we missed half of that.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. This is good. Okay, now take note, guys.
It's your turn.
Okay. I love it how it's all working for us. Yeah, right. You go with it.
Now I'm getting a
I was saying that with my migraines, I've very much sat in the space of looking at what's positive that's come out of it.
Yeah.
And that chronic pain. And I could tell you a whole list of things that have been amazing and wonderful, but I haven't been willing to play in that same space with the food allergies.
Okay. Tyler, I'm not sure if I shared with Gabrielle, Tyler mentioned to me, because Vanessa's such a beautiful, sensitive soul, that made a lot of sense to him why she would be she was sensitive to food and allergies and stuff. As soon as that was common sense to him. Like, it just flew out of it. And I was like, I never thought of it that way. So because so even looking at the sensitivity of self, where does that, what functions and ticks that, and is that not reflecting in the food you're eating, those sort of things, because food is a reflection of us anyway. Tell me about tomatoes at the moment, but so the whole that triggered a curiosity in me, because it kind of felt right in a way. So it would be something that you could look further into, the sensitivity of self, and probably be, you know, I know it'll be quite deep, and I don't want to give you a preconceived idea, because I think that's a whole lot of shit, because I could tell you how good or bad it was going to be to find it. The reality, have an experience with looking at it if you chose to, and see what formulated for you through that, and see if you could recognise the information through the food that's actually telling you very similar things that you've formulated your being, which plays a very sensitive soul. Mm-hmm. And see if there's a connection. Do you know what I mean? Just as a matter of interest. Resentment's an interesting, I really have to go there. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go there. Resentment, deep hurt that's suppressed and unexpressed, which becomes anger. Often resentment is directed toward a family member or someone close to you. Resentment frequently comes out when you feel like that you have been treated unfairly. Okay, I'm feeling that. I wanted to say sensitive. So I'm going to go with that. Okay, my pen's ringing the words treated unfairly or taken advantage of. I don't actually think I need to read a lot more, but because I've circled that, like this edge is just going round and round the words treated unfairly. Okay. Commonly, when a person carries resentment, they hold on to. I'm only sharing this now because someone watching this could be formulating an understanding of resentment and what I'm going to read. So I'm just going to share the whole piece, and then we'll go back to that space. Commonly, when a person carries resentment, they hold on to it through feelings of righteousness. They have a I am right, they are wrong attitude and choose to hold on to this feeling. You may feel resentment gives you the power to hurt someone else, or say, I knew it didn't have anything to do with you, but in reality it hurts you more and produces dis-ease and discomfort in your body. Long-term resentment can lead to a whole lot of stuff. I'm not going to read that. Resentment can also rear a host of negative emotions as bitterness, hurt, fear, anger. It creates misunderstanding and distrust. Misunderstanding and distrust. If you are unable to trust, then you can never relax. Safe trust. And you can never relax, as consciously or subconsciously you are always on guard. There's a few things in there. You'll know what resonates with you. For me, this whole thing, sensitivity and being treated unfairly, there's a connection in those two frequencies. That's what I could feel when I read it. That the words were swinging. Like I said, I was circling the words, and as soon as I tuned into the words, I got the word sensitive, and I'm like, what? So even in your upbringing, whatever, could have been a feeling untreated, and which made that formulated the sensitivity. It could be an aspect that developed a sensitivity that was played out through that. There's also the other resentment, which comes out to your trip as well. The safe and trusting issue. So knowing that you're safe and everything's okay. So looking at a connection for information through the book and what I've just read. The formulation is the experience that you've had and the words that were played out through what you've expressed to me, and then my feel of need to look in this book because it is whatever. I could have opened up a Bible that could have told me the same thing. At the end of the day, the words that I was connecting to have information for you. So things to play with from this is that resentment, that whatever those two words are, see it's gone already, that I've circled, that I was talking about, the sensitivity and the safe and trust. They're all combined. They're all combined. And there is another aspect I want to share with you, which is what we've reflected right through this whole thing, is that birth-death thing coming in. And as much as you say, which is right here where I'm right at the beginning, and you kind of got me convinced that you're okay. The story. The eternal story, then the reflection through your children, so it doesn't actually justify your story. So your story doesn't line up, is what I'm saying. So as much as you're okay to be eternal and everything, the children are still playing it out through you, which is an aspect of you if you reel it right back into here, which you picked up anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that's whole safe and fair things related aspects of that. So this whole story is combined that we're sharing tonight, if you get the gist. I know I'm rambling, but I just want to get out all the different slots of information.
Yeah.
And you might watch this tomorrow and pick up something totally different that resonates, which is all perfect. So yeah, go with that. I didn't feel there was a lot in that. There was a really heavy stuff in there. I didn't feel that was actually for you. That was actually a formulation that I had to share because that's actually information that somebody else might watch this and go, bang, that's me.
Yeah, no, that resonates really well with me. And for a long time, I've not felt like the world was safe. Like that was a really, I could see that program running through my mind, that the world was not a safe place. And for a long time, that led to me just wanting to be on my own. Like I was, was really aware of that. And that being treated unfairly was just like, yeah, I get that. And when I sat with the feeling, because I sat the other night with the feeling that I feel when, like I'm at a restaurant and I can't just choose anything I want.
So now it's playing out your food.
Yeah.
Oh, far out.
And what is the feeling I feel? And I then did when else in my life I felt this, and I could take myself straight back to Christmas Day and really wanting something, and what was under the Christmas tree would be, not at all what I wanted.
Yep.
So talking like me wanting a new bike, and under the Christmas tree would be, beautiful piece of jewelry when I was not at all.
Yeah. You give me a truck. I can really see, okay, I'm really getting a connection of this resentment vibe. Okay, there is something definitely in there. Not to the depth of the darkness of the heavy stuff that, if you were comparing, because it's all the same, but for me, there's a lot of real heavy stuff that I couldn't resonate. That's why I said I could stop here.
Yeah.
I'm glad I went because that's safe, and I hesitate. It's really interesting if you start listening to yourself and you're present in what you're reading and what you're sharing. Information's always given to you. So like I said to you, it wouldn't matter if you picked up a Bible, wouldn't matter if you picked up a dictionary or whatever, open up to a page. And it was like when you said to me, I don't know what allergies are, and I just opened the book and bang. You open a book and that particular page opens up and it's right on there and it says allergies. That's how precise things happen, and information's all around us. So for me, that's why I went to the book again, because I knew there was something that would bring clarity. Yet if I looked at you and talked to you every day, which I know I have the luxury of doing, it's not something that I would have associated an essence of resentment in you. Like to look at you, to be having coffee with you, to hear you, absolutely no. It's not an obvious essence that I would say, oh my gosh, you carry resentment of some sort. Yet tonight, with the playground that we're playing in and allowing it to fall, it falls into your hand. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's very simple and easy, and that's why my little traveling bits and pieces with you just go from playground to playground and scribble and jump and whatever. But I'm actually really happy because I can start piecing all the puzzle. Like, oh yeah, okay, that's why I needed to. That's why it was blank before, because it wanted me to get more information to share, and I was like, not. It wasn't just like streamlining. It was just like, there's information here. Really simply, just pick up a book and read it, for God's sake, So the resentment issues now. It's really funny that the issue you brought up, the Christmas Day issue, for the restaurant, is slightly not still to the point of the core of it, which the essence of creation, or it's formulated and it's got bigger somewhere along the line, and that's a more impactful probably place of play. the sensitivity thing's interesting because it links into that as well. So like the resentment is an understanding. If we broke it down and like if we said whoa, well cleared. It's so funny because I was thinking of Gabrielle as I did this. So I was just about to say if we dropped through the portal, because that's what we did with you, and I went to do that and you sneezed. And I was like, okay. Because I had you in my mind going, okay. But I'm actually talking to Vanessa.
Here we go.
So the resentment.
Can I come with you?
Yeah, I'm coming, baby.
Yeah. The resentment through to the treated unfairly and the sensitivity to me makes total sense, because treated unfairly is almost created a sensitivity which is turned into a resentment. Yet, it's making a story out of nothing, because at the end of the day, you die and it's all done. So, like, what story are we making? Because I think tonight's thing is a whole lot of thing about simple living. We're born, we live, and about experiencing every moment, and then you die. I think there's this repetitive thing, and because we're doing life to you and you've never felt safe and it finishes, do you know what I mean? So there's the continued essence is coming through there. I know I'm rambling, but I'm getting to
I was just laughing a minute ago because your screen had frozen.
Yeah.
In the most unflattering.
That's good.
Mouth wide open.
Yeah, because it's got so many technicalities of like fragments going, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where am I going with this? And now you might have, right, now I'm probably reset. Okay, so the food sensitivity and reflection makes a lot of sense. That's what I'm saying. The simplicity, no, she's frozen. This is so funny. The food sensitivity, and it makes a lot of sense when you get to the core of breaking all those fragments down.
Yes.
And Tyler's message was a really informative place of comparison. He actually picked it up in its simplistic form of course she has food sensitivity, because look at, she's got such a sensitive soul. And so the simplicity of what he was sharing, but to understand that playing out has got all those stories encompassed in that. So, and how you've taken it on board, and then what you've created and to this point, Interesting you've had an increase in sensitivity. Yet straight away, you refer to going to a restaurant and then there's nothing I can eat, and I find this very unfair. So it's definitely playing out, and once it's almost catching your attention straight away.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
With awareness as we're looking at it tonight.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some coming to peace with that. Not so much this food sensitivity and sensitivity of your soul. Maybe that's judgment of resentment and unfairly treated stuff, and spinning a coming to peace and a gift that it's given you today, where you're at today. The story that you have how old were you with your speaking when you were told to be quiet?
I was little.
See, when I want to go there, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering about the Christmas presentation that you gave me in your storyline. I was trying to work out where it fitted in a age scale.
Yeah, so it was teenage years, and certainly, I was talking about that book the other day, and it says that pretty much by the age of 7 we're imprinted by everything. So I'm thinking there's something back, something causal that's back further than that.
And so your speaking thing was what age? Oh, she's frozen.
Mm.
That would be perfect.
Frozen in time. Yeah. So how old were you?
I about 2 or 3, quite young.
Okay, so that's where I went straight away, even though you gave me the Christmas story. That's why I was trying to work around to what it was. That's the significant information for me. That's where it all started. Yep, she's frozen in that time frame. This is really interesting how the computer's playing out in retrospect to the whole scenario. So when I'm hitting on certain things with you both tonight, the computer's playing that back to me. So for me to see you frozen, it tells me that the essence of your soul is frozen in that time frame. So in shifting there, there's a story we can make. At the end of the day, there's no need for it to continue. The reality is how you've adopted to become that person from a very young age, and now how it's affecting you in those sort of scenarios and hugely reflecting in your food. Because to me, when someone's told to, be quiet or whatever, however, we probably could share that, the experience you had, that it's so significantly formulated for you to fit in that you can't be who you are.
Yeah.
And there's your resentment straight away. What a vibration.
Yeah.
From the age of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Which goes in alignment with the book you're reading at the moment, and this is why we're addressing it here tonight, because the reality is that's why you're reading it.
Yeah.
How does that sit with you? Sorry.
Yeah, that all really sits, it sits quite well with me. So I guess my question is, then what do you do with all of that?
What would you like to do with all of that? Maybe that's a question.
To be able to finish this call and then go and eat a piece of chocolate.
Is chocolate really what you think it is, though?
And be fine tomorrow. That's what I'd like.
Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying, and honestly, in a alternate reality of what I truly believe is possible, I think you could do that. In the reality that we're playing in with the essences of your functionability, you could. But maybe you couldn't. It depends on your core belief and how much it's resonated to the core of your true belief system, because it's going to have to play out to match that experience. So think about the formula of how many stories you've got running around food.
Yeah. And
can you just switch that into, okay, that's one reality I'm playing in now, I'm going to enjoy food in this reality. Do I believe in this present moment you can do it? No. Do I believe it's possible? Yes, I do. You could prove me totally wrong and go and do it and be absolutely okay. That's fine. But I'm not putting my hand up for that either. So that may be a fear-based thing in me.
Test it.
It says a mum with a child allergy. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Hey, and in fairness to say, I've dropped coffees and tomatoes and spices and stuff because I'm buying into a story at the moment too. So it's all very relevant, this conversation. And it's keeping it very real. I think, if anything, Vanessa, all I could offer you is, like we've said, come to peace with things. The more you come to peace with things, the more it's not an issue. Isn't even an issue, okay? So what is the issue with the food selection and choice? Because it's so limited. Isn't that very simple? You can only have simple options. Then, these are the positive spins. It's looking from a different perspective. Yeah. Well, okay, I can only eat this, and that's the choices. Or if you can play that game and appreciate that game. You could shift into looking at a 2 or 3 year old kid and actually shifting that emotion and dealing with that. And I know there are things, and I've seen people that can go in and they go to that They give them some understanding, it gives them clarity, it gives them a space, and then all of a sudden their life changes, and it's like what they couldn't do yesterday, they can do tomorrow. Yes, it is possible, you know, and for me, it's just coming to peace with it. The more you come to peace with it, the more opportunities will unfold. I think she's frozen in that 2 to 3 year old stage. Look at her. We'll wait for her to come out of it. And she's just cleaning that out. She's just cleaning that out. She's still there.
And her face is changing though.
Like it's fish face.
Can you hear me though?
Oh, she's back.
Oh, she's back. Could you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's okay.
I can hear you, but
she's gone again.
I know, but the freeze is the happy.
You're coming in and out. And no, it is good. You understand it. I think for anybody that's watching to understand it would be that the reflective play that's coming through the computer is that we're focusing on an area that's very stagnant and is very made and very stuck, and it's playing out through the computer. And your story, I mean, how perfect, what a great reflection of you understanding, because you know that. You know, the reality is, you know that there's something that's been created a very long time ago and it's set in stone. So therefore, that's what's happening presently on here. You go into that stuckness. The reality is that now I'm just going to say that there's no need to be stuck there because you have a choice. And how you deal with it, I think, is the best way you find that works for you. How's that feel?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great, and I that was fantastic. Thank you, and I be grateful in it.
Yeah, we're just laughing as you're coming in now. And look, honestly, clearing. This is the ultimate clearing. It's doing it all while we're here.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep me posted. I'm really keen to see what you discover, and yeah, it's interesting though. Like you said, you're reading that book. What is that book you're reading?
It's called. I know. Am I still there?
Yeah, you are now. Yeah. Go.
It's called The Presence Process.
The presence process?
Yes.
I want to jump into it because I'm missing something process.
So hang on, I'll get the book.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
The presence process.
Yeah. By Michael Brown.
Michael Brown. Thank you. And
yeah,
what's it basically? What's your summary of it?
So it's, and I know what you think about processes. So yeah.
No, hang on, stop there. What do I think about processes? You've just formulated me into something.
Well, you think that if I think I need a process, then I'll need a process. So.
Look, honestly, and a process is viable for those. It's a life experience. It's a playground. So yeah, I get you. Good call though. I've got to let her talk when she comes on next time.
Yeah.
Come back, darling. Hang on, I took my finger. Click, click, click. No, she's.
No.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So basically, the book is you have to do every morning and evening 15 minutes of continuous breathing, and while you're breathing, continuous breathing, you have to say, "I am here now," and then each week there's a statement that you have to state. So this one's is. I feel unconditionally. last week's one was I choose to respond. And pretty much his basis is that that it will bring up all that stuff that was imprinted when you were 7, up to 7 years old that you can't remember, will firstly come out in your physical body, and then secondly will come out in your emotional body. And that once you've moved through both of those layers, then you can be totally present in the world.
Okay.
And interestingly, he said that when you start this process, that physical things can become worse before they become better. And, I've just got that's certainly what's happened to me with being more sensitive to food. And also just that general feeling I've been talking to you about, having, just lots of pain and feeling just really heavy all over, and that I've been going, it's because of the cold. Possibly it is, but possibly it's part of the process as well.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Cool. And for those that are going to watch this, also in the delivery of what one will say will be brought into by us as humans, so therefore will become us, and believing that's how our process will be done to get to this point. And we play the game in doing that. I'm just sharing that with the allowance of understanding that everything has a playground, just as I used this book. There's no different to what you're doing. That's the reality. Interesting, just in reflection, the affirmational statements in the 15-minute breathing are very similar to a formulation of how I run a lot of my work stuff, Gabrielle. So that's kind of funny in itself, but I like, in reflection, just because you're frozen, I carried on talking, so in reflection to your story tonight, it supports the journey of what you're experiencing by the belief of what you're reading. Do you know what I'm saying? It's really ticking the boxes, and would make sense of getting to the depth of going back to 2 or 3.
Yes.
Yep. Perfect share. Yeah.
So on
Yep.
some level, have I bought into the belief that things have to get worse before they get better?
No, absolutely. Don't worry. Have I brought into menopausal symptoms tenfold? Absolutely. Whatever we want to read and whatever we want to believe becomes our reality. Thing, I think it's just like, I don't know whether Gabrielle brought up earlier or we're saying is absolutely, there's nothing, there's nothing to do. We're looking for something, and while we're looking for something, we're always going to find something. We're already perfect here now. The only thing that sees us not perfect is ourselves, so therefore it plays out. Yes, we've got all this stuff that we can look at back to 2, 3 things and whatever, and viably so, which makes it into something today. The pure reality is you could shift all that just by being present here now and just allowing it all to process itself in its own formula, because it's all perfect in its own way, and it doesn't even need a process to formulate because it's already perfect. It's only thinking it's not that therefore it is. So honestly, it's just another playground of understanding the journey. I think for you though, it may give you a bit of peace, like even tonight in reflection, when you even watch this tomorrow, understanding the functionability of you, and I'm only using you because it's me and Gabrielle and everybody else, but functionability of you as a human being at this present point in time, and how you're choosing to play it as we are choosing to play us, and it's playing out that way perfectly. That's why I say it's very fixable, very fast. It depends on where we want to play. If you've got a formula you want to run, you're going to run a formula, and it'll still get you to there. It's just what I said to Gabrielle, and we used it last week, is just scenic route. You're just taking a scenic route to something, to the destination, which is forever changing. or, you know, and yet it's all the same. And how fast you get there is purely, you know, up to you. But no, I do feel it's very fixable. I think there's some guy out there, don't quote me on this, but I think years ago, a guy was working on hooking to the emotion and coming, and it's literally taking a person from this point, like as I'm talking in this moment, and he's working with them, and he's dealing with the trigger, the emotion, and so somebody that couldn't eat peanut butter or something, and blah blah blah, and he triggered whatever. They come aware, and they're now eating peanut butter it's instantly. So it is totally doable, Vanessa. It's just finding what connects and works for you. So literally, you could go to sleep tonight and recreate your whole system. Absolutely doable, and wake up tomorrow, or even do it moment by moment. But I really think it comes on to the purity and the full system that we truly, honestly run. So as much as I'm functional in awareness, and I can pick up things and get information and blah blah blah, the reality is, if I've got something going on, I'll go, oh my God, what's this? You know, and I'll start going. And if I'm in that system, shift it to here, just be there, and it's already is, and it just formulates itself. Do you know what I mean? So just it's just being honest with yourself and being okay. That's how you're playing it. You know, if we reflect back to Gabrielle and Patty being locked in the car, you know, stuff. The reality that someone listened to Gabrielle last week think, oh, she's got her shit together, and they've got to sit, you know, they've got to just focus like this. But the reality is she's still experiencing all this other stuff, and that's the authenticity of who we are. We're not falsely putting out there we're somebody here, and we're saying there's a multitudes of playgrounds out there, and we're playing in a hell of a lot of them, and there's people out there that wouldn't even, you know, they'd listen to this and think these guys are far off the friggin' planet. Do you know what I mean? Listen to how they're talking. So they've got their own program and reality. So, you know, there's no right or wrong way, but never doubt it. That's what I'm saying. Never doubt it. Never doubt the possibility that it's that easy and that fixable, because that's what makes it happen.
Yeah.
You know? Just, you've got to have that faith. You've got to have that faith and that belief to create that space. And you can't keep looking back at what's been, because every time you go back there, you bring that into this present moment. So, you know, like every time you go back into something, you bring focus to that energy, which brings that energy alive into this present moment. And unless you can do that from an awareness, from a place of peace, without the reactive or without the emotion attached, and just an awareness and understanding, it has to affect us some way. So that's what I mean. The reality is being able to have no emotion attachment to that cell memory almost, even though it has a function and a place in your being. Then you can sit there and go, okay, you know, I still have things that I think I'm okay with, but then when I really sit with them and you know, there's family stuff and things that, you know, I think, oh God, maybe I should, sometimes you would think, oh, I wish I'd said something. And then I get to a point as, oh God, I can't be bothered saying anything, and I really don't need to say anything yet. But hear me now is that it's just irrelevant. But as soon as I go back there and feed it, it becomes something. And then it comes back into this playground and plays out and through my body, whatever, you know. I could be going through whatever, and it could be something that I've just thought about, something that's pissed me off, and it's brought back, and now my body's gone into whatever. So there's just so many formulas of, making it really hard or keeping it really simple. That presence. I'm not doubting. I think the book sounds good, and I do think it's valid, and it's understanding and awareness. It's just read it and play with it, which you are playing with it. Because it's already had an awesome effect, and it's already brought up stuff, and it's already cleaned up stuff. So everything that stated is already played out, and that's because your energy is so powerful. That's what it creates. And so, you know, and so if I was you, I would say, okay, this is working. Keep enjoying it. Keep having fun. what better way can you do 15 minutes continuously breathing? That cracks me up in the start. Well, shit, are we not breathing already? But, you know, like, but that's okay. But I thought, you know, I get it. But I was like, oh my God, that makes me laugh. And then empowering statements, you know, what better way to play?
Yeah. I different tangent. I watched this YouTube video the other day by Sadhguru, who's, you know, one of the enlightened beings in India, and it was about the correct way to drink water. And in the back of my mind, I had you going, like fuck, there's a correct way.
That's so true. That's so true. I like that. I like that I can be in someone's mind going like, fuck, there's a correct way to drink water. That's so cool. That's so cool. You've made my night. But yeah, that's the reality, you know, the belief in the playground, really.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is it? And why is it? Is it because we've come into this world and we're going to leave this world and we've got to have some sort of meaning, understanding, awareness, whatever, you know, even as we play here, it's a choice. A playground doesn't have to be. This doesn't even have to exist. It's the whole thing is just a playground, just a experience. And yeah, I don't know. It's been a big week on that birth, death stuff. If I die, obviously, you know why I've talked about it, but you know, the reality of you know what I mean. Gabriel's going, no. I'm sitting there going, but the reality is that we've made such a huge thing about this coming in and going out, which is what we spoke about, Gabriel, over coffee, and is everything just a integration playground of all that we're thinking from this point to this point, and it's actually got, you know, nothing to do with anything. It's just here to experience and play, and then, you know, I know it's a really, I think, yeah, it's, you know, sensitive to life. You could be sensitive to the whole life experience, you know, it could be the whole thing. But we could make something out of it, and it's just, I think we've just got to chill out a little bit, and if there are things that come along and do create and come, you know, like we remember our body being that good, and this is doable too. You can shift that body into this body and become it. The reality is just experience it for what it is, and try not to buy too much into it. And I'm talking to myself here because I do, you know, like but the reality is that, yeah, like, I'm going to use me as an example. I you know, last few weeks I've just focused on all the issues, and so I've, you know, formulated a lot of issues, especially with, I would classify it as, you know, the premenopausal sort of space. So I'm playing that playground really well. Yet on the other hand, I've also formulated some really good stuff. I've kind of got motivated. So my body's in contrast at the moment. It feels really good, but it feels really shit. So is that not right? That could be good balance. And then it only becomes something because I'm thinking that way, and then I'll find something wrong with it, and then something else will happen, and then I'll find, you know, it's we might be in there too much and just not presently here, and the answers could be right in front of us, and it could be very simple, like you say, just breathing.
Yeah,
that was a good ramble anyway.
Yeah, thank you for all that.
Oh, that's okay. Anyway, do you want to follow up with something, Gabrielle, on anything you've kind of picked up tonight, or even feedback on what was just shared, or whatever I rambled about? I lost you.
No. What I was just thinking of, like when I was shaking my head when you were talking, I was thinking, oh, it's so interesting. This is the conversation when I'm finding myself going into palliative care every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about, you know, working with, we're talking celebrant or people dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how it would be good to work with
Oh,
the dying people. This is really interesting.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
I just got, what are you doing tomorrow?
I've got no idea. It's interesting because I did have a significant point of notice that when we're in Canberra, so the death thing's been playing with me since Canberra. So I'm hoping for some clarity on that, and I kind of look.
I was going to say the death of the Prime Minister. No, the Prime Minister.
Well, it's funny you say that because okay. So that might have some significance in a because I got that tonight too, because I was like, okay, this has been hanging around. What is this? So what happened was we went out of a store and there was we're in a dairy and it looked like there was like your deed for your will, like a whole lot of packed up, and I was like, oh, this is really strange in a dairy. And going with that's what it was, because I really didn't have too much of a look. It just looks like make your own will packs sort of stuff. And so I was kind of, that's really interesting. Kind of brushed it off, didn't think much of it, but it's kind of been triggering in my. And I did put together tonight that change of parliament happened that day. So I was kind of, and that time we were there, so I was going, okay, that. But then we've continued with this whole philosophy of understanding life to death stuff, and the protecting and doing. And then if we're here for 5 minutes or we're here for 99 years, it's an experience, and it's just doing that. So what have we formulated and what have we created? So it's definitely gone on some good tangents and good stories. But interesting, you brought up the palliative care and stuff, but definitely the Parliament stuff. I want to thank you for that, because there was something in that kind of resonated with what I felt as the shift and change. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Australian Parliament, politics. I'm sure Tyler will inform me, but it could be something in that in itself. Anyway, that was a side ramble. So what else did you get, Gabrielle, apart from that?
I really enjoyed Venice's share, and I was sitting here going, oh, I wonder if I need to read that book, and then, and then I was like, oh, and I was like, no, anyway, and then I was like, oh, or I could choose a different belief, like, anyway, so that all, I just went through all that.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, it was really good. I was like, oh God.
I
just how powerful you are.
Yeah. I don't think there's nothing wrong with reading any books or doing whatever. It's just having fun. But with the awareness, with the awareness and understanding that what you take from this can become you, and it's no different to media. It's no different to all the TV stories and whatever. We listen to what we're being told, but then we believe what we've been told, or even our parents. Our parents' stories. And we believe them so much, but then we look from them in an old age thinking, Jesus, that was their story. Do you know what I mean? And so it's all those beliefs adopted by that. And it's just enjoy it, take it with a grain of salt. If it works for you, it works for you. And look, honestly, that's what I mean. If she's out there eating chocolate tomorrow, well, so be it. Happy, joy. He can claim it, whatever. I couldn't give two shit. But at the end of the day, if it's a transition that makes your life better, all for it. And fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Vanessa, you got anything to finish off on?
No, thank you. That was it was really great. Thank you. Really fun and really beneficial. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Very much so. Okay, guys, we'll call it a night.
Can I say I just want to say one thing, because this is the last time I'm hosting.
Oh, yes.
So I just wanted to thank Alex.
No, I thank you. Thank you for having me. No, so appreciate it.
Yeah. As am I. And also thank you to Vanessa. Like, I just think every time someone turns up, I'm like, oh my God, like this is actually happening. So. And to, and for people to be open and raw and just join the conversation, and I've just been so grateful to everyone that's turned up. So, thank you as well, Vanessa. I've loved them, and I'm sure I'll be back here playing.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run my Zoom room. I'm going to be very much educated in 5 minutes. It'll be winging it from the blind. And we'll see how we flow from there. We'll just go by, if there's so many, if people want to come, I'll be here. If people don't want to come, I'll still be here. I don't know where I'll be. I'm actually, I'll see how we go this week, but I was thinking of having a gap and then rebooting it, and giving everybody a bit of time to integrate into what they're doing, and then obviously coming back and seeing how they're playing, because that's always good, because when you're doing a weekly, it's fine, you're getting your top up. When you have a gap and then you come back and then you realise, I am doing okay, or I'm actually wouldn't mind not dealing with myself at all, and I'm pretty well covering it and playing life and blaming. So it's just sometimes good to have a gap. So I'm kind of tossing in those ideas, but at the moment we'll see next week. And but hey, thanks for kicking it off, Goop, and seeing where it rolls. And like, if it's the first and last, it's all cool. If it goes forever, it does. I'm all cool with that too. So we'll just wing it and trust what it is. But I trust everybody would have got a lot out of your room sharing. I think we're up to 16 videos or something, and
I know. I couldn't believe. I was like, we've been going for 4 months.
Yeah,
it's 4 months, Ali.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well. Doesn't seem
so
like that.
much covered, like it's just like wow, it's like whoa.
Yeah.
And there is so much else as well. So it's like,
very much so. And getting like continue, like, even though you're not, your videos will still be up and running, and they'll, like, people will be seeing them forever. So I think that's a really good thing too, is that the videos that we've shared are obviously getting feedback in bits and pieces, but I'm getting people that are only just starting to watch them, So it's like anything. It's there. It's a resource. It's a really good resource for me, because I can flick people onto that, and we're going through different things, and there's certain episodes that actually work out really well. So I'll just flick them the episodes, and they can just sit with it and then have feedback. And so truly, truly appreciate what you've kicked off.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I will, but I'll meet you for coffee anyway.
Okay. I'm sure I'll see you back in here too.
I love you guys. Okay, catch up soon, eh?
Okay, see you guys. See you, Vanessa.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome, love.
Yeah.